All right, so guys, once again, it's good to have you guys here. This is probably going to be our last, um, like, meeting for the year, um, and it's been a great year, 2023. Great year in the sense that we are all here still having these meetings. I don't take that for granted at all because there are places where they can't have meetings anymore, and they started the year just like us. So when you go to places like Israel or Palestine, I'm sure people started having like meetings like this in the comfort of their homes or in their offices and stuff. And all of a sudden, those things can't happen anymore. So it's been a good year in that sense that we still have relative safety and we could still schedule time around things that we can somewhat control. We take that for granted a lot. So I'm glad to see each and every one of you here to make out time within the week to be here. It's great. It's good to have Samuel, Ore, Jerry, Elizabeth, IK, and Dami. I'm sure some other people will still join us. Some people might just be closing from work. But then I would like us to have this meeting. Now, leading up to this meeting, for me, it has been some kind of tension. And I hardly get tense when I want to have a meeting. So I don't know why I'm tense about this one. But I guess it's because it's like the end of the year meeting, and I realize it's so important. It kind of sums up the year, and advising people about going into next year just seems to me like a big burden. So yeah, to be honest with you, I have some tension. You understand, going into this, which hasn't happened in a while. But then I think it just makes me realize how important what I want to talk to you about is. I think that's why I feel this tension. When something is important to you, you would feel the nerves, and I think it's very important for me to talk to you guys about ending the year and going into a new year. Um, and so this session, I want to call it No Future Ambition. No Future Ambition, NFA. And that's something I heard for the first time when I was in secondary school many years ago. It was a term that people used for people that seemed like they had no aspirations or dreams for their lives. People that could not really articulate where they were going or where they were coming from or where they hoped to be. We call them no future ambition. I hope nobody called me that in school because it wasn't really something you wanted to be called in school. Because we always wanted to seem like we had a hold on our life. And I say it now that I hope nobody called me that in school. But it's funny, that's why I'm going to talk with about with you guys today on this call. And I'm not going to talk about it in the negative light that people have been talking about it. I want to talk about it in a positive light. And a few days ago, I put up a post on Twitter, and I was talking about things I learned in 2023. And the first thing I wrote was, I learned that to find my true passion, I had to let go of my personal ambition. And I wrote other things there. I think there were 3 or 4 other things that I wrote. But then most people got back to me saying they didn't understand what I meant by the first thing I wrote. What did I mean by to find my true purpose? I had to give up my personal ambition. And I didn't bother explaining to anybody because it was just too long a thing to explain. So I said I will explain it to you guys and try to record it and see how many people will have the chance to listen to it. Then I can really go about explaining it, because that thing I wrote was just a line, but what went into that line was a lot of thoughts, months of thoughts went into that very line. So when people say I should explain to them, I didn't even know where to start. So I just thought, okay, let me talk about it with you guys. You see, a lot of you, if I was to ask you how your year has gone, there'll be like 3 or so different general moods. Some people will feel like it has been a great year. I started out the year thinking, wanting to do this, do this, do this, do this, and by December I've done this, done this, done this, done that. Most of the things I set out to do, I did this year. I checked all the boxes and even more. Some of you will be like, well, it's been all right. I set out to do some things. I did some, I didn't do some. Well, I checked out some boxes, but not all the boxes. Some people will be like, I set out to do some things this year, and I didn't get any of them done. In fact, I went the counter direction to a lot of things I said I was going to get done. I said I was going to lose weight, but now I haven't gained more. I said I was going to make more money, but now I'm even in the red. I said I was going to build more relationships, but it seems like I have more enemies. So you kind of feel like it hasn't been a really good year. So some of you are going to feel like your year has been good. Some of you are going to feel like your year has been all right. Some people are going to feel like their year has not been good. If I was to take the general mood, it's going to fall within those three. You use different words, but the mood will still be within those three categories. And so, what I want to talk to you about today is the fact that we cannot base our assessment of our year on a mood about how we feel, what we got done, and what we didn't get done. That cannot be a good basis for assessment of the year. So I realized that some people are going to assess the year and they're going to say they had a good year purely just based on the fact that they set out to do something and they achieved those things. And some people are going to say they didn't have a good year purely based on the fact that they set out to do some things and those things didn't happen. And those first category of people will be very happy with themselves. And based on how they feel, they're going to be like, oh man, it was a good year. The year went the way it should have gone. And some people that feel like if they didn't achieve stuff based on those thoughts will feel like if the year wasn't good, they need to improve on next year. But then they could both be wrong. That person that doesn't feel so good right now, saying, I set out to make more money, but I don't have, I'm even broke right now, could have had a very successful year, doesn't know it. Even though you don't feel really successful right now. Some people will feel like it wasn't a good year because right now I'm in a place whereby my mom is sick, my dad is sick, my sister had an accident, I had an accident, I'm in the hospital right now when everybody's like happy, round up the year, I'm right here in pain. It wasn't a good year. It couldn't have been a good year. I'm here taking injections every 1 hour. That can't be good. And the person that feels I'm healthy, never went to the hospital, never went for any checkup, I'm right in the comfort of my home, things must have gone well, I must have orchestrated this year really well, you understand? Might be wrong. They might have had a failed year, even if their state of mind seems to be in a very positive, happy place. And the other person whose state of mind seems to be in a very negative, sad, painful place might actually have had a fulfilling year without knowing it. So you see, I came to this session with 3 books. So I'm going to read the first one now. The first one is the Bible. So I'll beg your indulgence to read a part of the Bible for you. That struck me. Um, so this from John 12, John chapter 12, verse 27. And this is Jesus. And this is when Jesus was nearing his crucifixion. It says in verse 27, it says, now my soul is deeply troubled. Should I pray, Father, save me from this hour? But this is the very reason I came. Verse 28, Father, bring glory to your name. Now, in this verse, Jesus is saying something that he hasn't said so much in the Bible up until this time when he's about to die. Jesus saying he's deeply troubled. It's not something we heard in the early life of Jesus, even during his ministry. He never really said about him being deeply troubled. You understand? But towards the end of his life, he made that statement a couple of times. And this is one of the times. He said, I am deeply troubled. Now, he was deeply troubled at this point. But then he went on to say, this is the very reason why I came. So the fact that I'm deeply troubled right now aligns with where I ought to be right now. The fact that I feel deeply troubled shows that I am in the right place. And when I read that, it made me realize that you feeling troubled, you feeling pain, you feeling frustrated right now doesn't mean that you are not, the year didn't go right. So doesn't mean that the year was wrong. You understand? It might just mean you are in the right place. It might just mean that the year actually led up to what it should lead up to. You being troubled, upset, and disappointed. And the fact that you are happy doesn't mean the year has led to the right place either. It's not based on your emotions, and it's not based on your achievements either. And I think somebody here needs to hear that today. The year is not bad because you feel sad, and the year has not been good because you feel good. It's very little about you. And I think I want to start by giving a short story about how this year started for me. In January 1st, I went out with my family and we met with my extended family, my sister, her kids, my parents. We all went out somewhere. Went for a buffet and we all ate together, took photos and everything. And the next day, January 2nd, I think, or January 2nd, we still went out. I went out with my sister again. We went out somewhere again. We had fun. And then 3rd of January, my daughter started having some kind of temperature. She was having a little bit of a fever, and then she started coming up with some small blisters on her body, bumps on her body. And my wife is a medical doctor, so she looked at it and said, "Whoa, this thing looks like chicken pox." And before we knew it, it was everywhere. And then we had to quarantine her. Now, I always thought I've had chicken pox before, so I wasn't really scared because I've had it. Yeah, I've not had it. I've had people close to me that have had it and I never caught it. So I just thought maybe I had it when I was very young. My mother never told me. So it never was a concern to me. My wife has had it before. She remembers having it, so it wasn't a concern. But for me, I've been in close proximity with people with chicken pox for a very long time and I never got it. So I just thought I must have had it. So this time I wasn't scared to apply calamari lotion on my daughter and everything. So some days later I was in the bathroom and I just saw like a small on my arm, a small something that looked like a small pimple. You understand? And just wanting to touch it, it just burst. I thought this thing can't be chicken pox. My wife was like, "No, this thing is chicken pox." I said, "No, it's not chicken pox. This thing can't be chicken pox. I've had this thing before now." And before the end of the day, it was everywhere. Can you guys still hear me, please? Samuel, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, all right. Please remind. What was the last thing you
You're talking about the people posted, or I mean, why? Yeah.
heard? My network just went off. Yeah, all right. What was the last thing you heard?
Yes, you are describing the people that you notice while you're in bathroom and the thing just posted just when you touched it, and yeah, that was what I heard last.
Sorry, for some reason I can't hear you clearly. All right.
Okay, can you hear me? So I said you are speaking about the people that you discovered at your home and then Ghostbusting. Whoa.
Good evening, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, Emmanuel. Okay. Is that okay?
No, Emmanuel speaking.
Okay, Emmanuel, how you doing? So what was the
I'm
last thing
fine.
you heard? I can't hear you I couldn't hear you very well.
You're talking about you being in bathroom and touching a pimple like
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks a
on
lot.
the busted. Yeah.
All right. All right, so sorry about that. The network was really bad. All right, so I went to the bathroom and I saw that I had something that looked like chicken pox, and I was in some denial. But by the end of the day, it was all over me. You understand? So they had to quarantine me too. So I was in the room and I had chicken pox for the first time in my life, and so it was a terrible experience. You understand? Because I was awake, scratching and stuff like that. But what I want to talk about is not the experience; it's after the chicken pox. Now, the chicken pox lasted, I think, about 7 to 8 days. You understand? Before every single um, bump had gone, every single lesion, you understand, had crusted. Now, after I had it, my fear was having permanent scars because I heard that if you have chicken pox when you're an adult, it can scar you for life. So that was my fear, that this thing was going to scar me for life. And each scar started fading, but there were these scars on my face, one on my forehead, one right on my nose, and another one on my right cheek that wasn't fading. They were very deep, you understand? It used to bother me a lot, a whole lot. This was January, and I was like, what is this? And I was googling, how long does it take chicken pox to clear from your face and clear from your body? And Google can give you all manner of terrible answers, and they tell me some will never clear, some will be forever, I'm like, my goodness. And I was looking at it and looking at it every single day. I look in the mirror and just say this thing should go. And I was using all manner of coconut oil, palm kernel oil, just anything to get it to go. And then there was a day I looked at it, and I read an article that said it will take about 6 months for it to clear. So I told myself, this thing, by the end of June, 1st of July, this thing should have cleared. So when I told myself that, I felt some peace. And every day I would look at it and I would be like, 1st of July, this thing would have cleared. Now others were clearing, but this one on my nose wasn't really clearing. And the one by my right cheek just that wasn't really clearing. And I said, 1st of July, it will clear. And you know what happened there? One day I was thinking and I said, Tola, you are just setting yourself up because you have no guarantee that 1st of July it will clear. No guarantee. So the best thing you can do for yourself is take your mind off that 1st of July and just live your life. Because up until that time, every time I looked in the mirror, what gave me hope was that 1st of July, everything would have cleared. And you know what happened? 1st of July came and it didn't clear. But I didn't feel bad because before that point, I had put my mind off the 1st of July. And I put my mind in the mind space of whether it clears or not, I don't care. It was hard for me to accept it, but when I put my mind in that mind space that, look, God, I'm leaving it in your hands. If you want it to clear, you can make it clear today. And if you feel like it's something you just want me to deal with for the rest of my life, I'm leaving it to you. I surrender it to you. I didn't care anymore. And I stopped seeing it. I stopped. After the first time it happened, I was so insecure about going out. You understand? I was so insecure, but after I just surrendered, I started becoming confident about going out. And now I don't see it anymore. But you know what? What's today's date now? Today is the 18th of December, and it hasn't cleared. But you know what? I don't care. Imagine if I'd put myself in that mind state. By 1st of July, it would have cleared. I would have set myself up seriously for disappointment. And I would have felt even worse by that 1st of July. What I was doing, setting that date, was something called an ambition. And by doing that, I set for myself a time bomb. And a lot of times when we set that thing called an ambition, we what we are doing in essence is whining a bomb that will put pressure on us every single day leading up to when that bomb goes off. And that's how most of us start the year. We start the year with ambition. This is what I want to do in 2024. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to have. And then we start whining. We start whining. And with every single time you whine, you are setting yourself up. You are setting yourself up. I read a book once by a guy called Viktor Frankl. The book is called Man's Search for Meaning. And Viktor Frankl is an Austrian psychiatrist. And during the Second World War, he was captured as a Jew, and they put him in one of these Jewish concentration camps where they were killing Jews every single day, killing men, killing children. Every single day they were dying in their hundreds and putting them under difficult living conditions. If you ever have the chance to read that book, read that book. It's an incredible book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. Now, he gave it in such vivid detail that if you listen to if you read the book and listen to the narration of the book, you would almost at a point get physically sick at how man could treat his fellow man in war situations. And he said the conditions were so bad that it came to a point where some people, to give themselves hope, they gave themselves a date by which they believed that by that date they will be freed from those concentration camps. They came together and said, by this particular date, I've forgotten the date, he gave the date in the book, that the Allied forces will come and they will free them from the concentration camps. And a lot of them were happy and they moved towards that date. Like, that date will be free. That date will be free. And that allowed them to work each and every day without feeling sad. Then that date came and nobody came to free them. He said all of them started dying one by one immediately after that date. They had lost all hope, that they died of depression. No one just started dying. They just felt no reason to live again because the date we set for ourselves never came to pass. So they just lost all hope. But he said those who went each day without thinking of the day they will be free, they just went each day thinking, I'm alive today, what am I meant to do on this camp, were the ones that survived and were able to see their day of freedom. But most of them that had the ambition, one particular day that they chose would be the day that they would be freed, died of depression and disappointment and heartache. Most of them died. And that's why this thing called ambition is not a terrible thing, but it's a dangerous thing. And it's something that, as I always say, Western culture has taught us as the essence of life. Western culture has been a big influence on our life. Unfortunately, it has not been a good influence on our life. Western culture has taught us that everybody has a right to a dream. Everybody has a right to a dream. And they've magnified that dream as something everybody is entitled to as a significant part of our life. That dream, we must all aspire to be something. It sounds like a good thing, but at the very, very core, it's a dangerous thing. The right to a dream is a dangerous thing. I was talking with somebody last week, a young man. He reached out to me and was telling me how sad he was about his life. And I asked him, why are you sad? Because he had described his life and everything seemed to be right, in my own opinion. He seemed to live what I would consider by Nigerian standards is a privileged life. Both parents still alive, still married. Not abusive, sent him to a good school, no sibling rivalry. His brother was somewhat his best friend, always looking out for him. Good education, you understand? Dad worked a good job, mom was doing well. In fact, stayed at home to take care of them till they grew up. And I was thinking, where is this sadness coming from? At a point, he did an IQ test in the school. He got the highest IQ, was given an award and stuff like that. So I was thinking, where is this sadness coming from? So I spoke with him and I told him, just tell me, just express yourself. And he said his sadness is coming from the fact that he feels like his life is not going anywhere because he doesn't have a dream. So he doesn't have a dream, no dream for his life. I know at first I thought about it, I'm like, wow, how can he not have a dream? And then I thought to myself, why is he entitled to having a dream? Why is everybody entitled to having a personal dream? Why? Why do we magnify this thing of I dream too? Why? Is it important? I personally don't think so. I don't think we as human beings were made primarily to dream. But then it's something we are set up with from very early on in our lives. It starts from that very early toxic question that we ask children from very young. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? That's the first introduction we have to dreaming. That's the first thing that's implanted in our minds as young ones that makes us feel like life is about being, is about going and getting, is one of our first encounters with ambition. What do you want to be when you grow up? It's a question that most children have to deal with that is not really important to a child's welfare. Not really important, but children get asked it a lot. It's a question that a lot of adults ask children when they have nothing better to say. What do you want to be when you grow up? It's a question that children are asked when they do something that they expect an adult to just be proud of them. They say, oh, this is very nice drawing. What do you want to be when you grow up? The child dances and they're dancing well. You're such a good dancer. What do you want to be when you grow up? A child shows some kind of expertise in mathematics. I'm like, wow, how did you add that up so fast? What do you want to be when you grow up? It's a question that we ask to children that children cannot answer. But it sets them on this path of ambition. And they take it down into their life and they feel their life is all about being something. That's the first entry into ambition. And I had to look at this word ambition and said, where does it come from? This word ambition. So I look at the etymology of the word. And ambition is a Latin word from a word called ambitio. Ambitio. That's what it's called, the Latin word coined by the Romans, either the Romans or the Greeks, one of them. And the word means to go around and solicit. Ambition, that ambitio, was used by politicians. It was a political word that people used in times of election. So they go around and try to solicit for votes. What it means is you are gathering for yourself. So it has self at the center. How much can you gather for yourself? That's the origin of the word ambition. And that is what we have been taught should be the center of our lives. What do I want to be? What do I want to get? Where do I want to go? How much can I gather for myself in this existence called my life? Ambition. Ambition is not a bad thing, I say again, but it's a dangerous thing. It's something that if it's not well tamed, which hardly can be well tamed, it can take control of your life. So I said I bought 3 books. I've read one, which is the Bible, where Christ was talking about his emotions. And the last thing he said was his ambition, in quote, was to bring glory to the Father. So it wasn't his anymore. The second book I bought 2 other books. Now, these books are my journal. I've never read it out to anybody. I'm going to read it out to you guys now. I wrote this in September 2011. Tola Alabi Design LLC. That's what I wrote. First page. I said my mission. That's what I wrote here. I said in 5 years to be the leading design company in Nigeria. For every Nigerian to have used, seen, purchased a product or brand designed by me. In 10 years to be the leading design company in Africa. For every African to have used, seen, or purchased a product or brand designed by me. In 15 years, to be the leading design company in the world. For everyone on the planet to have used or seen or purchased a product or brand designed by me. I wrote that in 2011. 2011 September. That's when I wrote that. Now, that was my ambition. That was my ambition. That was what I wanted to be, the leading designer. That was my ambition. I thought so long and hard, what do I want to be? What do I want to gather? It now became, I wanted to be the leading designer. Now, this thing that I wrote then sounded like a good thing. But it's what happened years after I wrote this thing that is interesting. When I wrote this thing, I set the clock, that time bomb. I was twisting it. Immediately I let it go, I started hearing it ticking. And I was on the run, trying to be the leading. And you know what came with that? Was a lot of insecurity. I was always looking over my shoulders. Who is leading right now? First of all, the first question was, who was leading right then? Who is leading? Who do I need to take out? So the first thing I did was I found somebody, an enemy, who had my spot already. So who is leading? Who are the guys leading? These are the guys that are in my way of my ambition. That's the first toxic thing that came. Looking for the guys that way. I need to do work better than these guys. Now, you know what? This thing can sound so motivational, but in actual fact, if I'm honest with you, it wasn't. It was far from motivational. It was far from it. It was toxic. That's the truth. I thought these guys, and take them out. And I mentioned the guys now that I thought them, but I don't think there's any need to mention them. Not to build some insecurity, but then I knew them. I knew myself. I said, these guys, I need to take, and I followed them. I started following them. I started saying, okay, how can I take these guys that are doing branding right now? They're in my way. You know what? One of those companies folded up. One of them folded up in 2013. One of them folded up, and I was so happy. I'll be honest with you, I was so happy. I was happy. I was like, finally, one more to go. I was happy about the demise of the company. People lost their jobs, but I was happy. And I was a Christian. You see, ambition is a trap. It pervades your mind right from the very beginning. Adam and Eve's ambition to be like God poisoned their mind. You understand? I wanted to be the God of design. Starting from Nigeria to Africa to the world. So anyone that was doing it well, I didn't like them. I didn't like them. They were in my way. They were blocking my ambition. It's just like in politics. Remember, ambitio. Atiku doesn't like Tinubu now. Peter Obi doesn't like Tinubu. Tinubu doesn't like Peter Obi. Trump doesn't like Obama. Obama doesn't like Trump. Biden doesn't like Trump. Hillary doesn't like Obama. You know, that's how politics goes. Because for every vote they have is they vote away from you. And remember, ambitio is gathering, soliciting votes. It never comes with good emotions. Hardly ever. And that was the problem I was setting myself up for. That problem of ambition. The second book I have is more recent. Because when I stopped doing design, when I realized that design was getting toxic, I felt a leading. And to be honest with you, a lot of you will not know how toxic design was getting because you saw my work and you were being inspired, right? It was an internal thing. Design is not bad, but my ambition towards design wasn't good. And that's where, even when I stopped doing design, I started speaking. So I have something I wrote here from 2021. So not so far back. And I'll read it to you. It's 10 years away from what I wrote in 2011. I wrote this in 2021. This is my first page. If any of you ever visit me, I'll show you. First page. My personal dream. That's what I wrote here. To be the most influential thought leader and hope giver out of Africa. To speak to millions of people around the world through recorded content, books, and public speaking. To consult, advise Fortune 500 companies and world leaders to bring about positive change. To be the highest paid thought leader living a very comfortable life from sharing my thoughts and opinion. This was 2021. You see, the same ambition, I dragged it back. So you see, when I started doing design, design was a calling. But even in that calling, I had to put in my ambition in it. When I started speaking, speaking was a calling. But you know what? Immediately, when I started doing that speaking, I had to put in my ambition into it too. And it was only till this year that I realized, Tola, you have to catch yourself. Who called you to be the most influential thought leader? Who called you? Who called you to speak to millions of people? Was it truly what you believed you were called to do, or was it something you want? Is it something you want to be when you grow up? You need to think about it well. Who called you to advise Fortune 500 companies? Was it God that called you, or was it you that called yourself? Is this something you want to be when you grow up? Is this that question of what do you want to be when you grow up? That answer you want to give to adults to impress them that is still following you today? Who called you to be the highest paid thought leader? Who told you you're even going to be paid for your thoughts? You see, this ambition has us as the center. And that's why you can be doing something very pure, but at the very center, you put yourself. And once you put yourself at the very center, you begin to corrupt whatever you've been called to do that's pure. And that's what I want to warn you guys about today. You're ending the year, you're going into 2024. We all start, a lot of us in Nigeria, especially Christians start the year 1st of January or first week in January. A lot of churches will declare fasting and prayer for January. Some 10 days, some 20 days, some 30 days, some 60 days. But they are going to do it. It's going to happen. Trust me. That's not bad. What is bad is what we are fasting and praying about. A lot of us are going to load God with what we want Him to do for us in that year, 2024. So fasting and prayer is going to be about talking to God about that new house you want, that new job you want, that child you want, that good health you want, that promotion you want. That's what we are going to be fasting and praying about. And that's when you realize that after those days dedicated to fasting and prayer, what comes is months of entitlement. Of we've given God what He wants is 1 month. Now, for the remaining 11 months, God give us everything we asked for. But I dare to say that's not the reason you dedicate the first month of your year to God. The reason you go to God in the first month is to hear what He wants you to do for the remaining 11 months. That's why you go to God. Not to load Him up with your prayer request. I don't think so. I don't think so. We go to God with our ambition. But what God really wants us to do is mission. So there's this word called mission. The origin of the word is also a Latin word, missio. So Latin and English, not very, just put the O there. Missio. That is the original word that formed the English word mission. What does missio mean? Missio means to be sent. To be sent. The word mission was first used by the church when they started sending people out to propagate the word of God. That's when the word was coined, missio. Missio means to be sent. And that is what God wants us to do. To follow a mission or to go after a mission. So when you're going to 2024, it cannot be because of what you want. It has to be what God wants you to do. That's the most important thing. I know I've been working with brands for a while, and it's interesting how a lot of people say they have mission statements, but what they really have is ambition statements. Ambition statements. You go to I worked with a lot of schools, a lot of organizations. What's their mission statement? To be the foremost school in Abuja or the foremost school in Nigeria. To be the number one company that has served half of the people in the country. To be the. I don't realize that a lot of what these people are calling mission statements, they're not purely ambition statements. It's ambition. Because whoever has a mission should be able to tell you who sent them. And I dare to say a lot of people that say they have mission statements, they're the ones that sent themselves. To be the. And that's why the business environment, it can be so toxic. Because everybody is following ambition. And remember, ambition always sees themselves at the center. So anything else that kind of throws you off the center is a competition. And then you need to take that person out. Very few people have mission statements. Because if you have a mission statement, you must have who sent you. Because mission means to be sent. And that's what we need. A sense of sending. A sense of being sent. Let me not put a sense of sending. Of being sent to do something with your life. So that's where I started from. If you started this year with, I set out to do this thing, and I've done it. The question is, who sent you out to do the thing? If you sent yourself out to do the thing, in the long run, you might question whether the thing really fulfills you. Because there are three things that human beings look for, and they come in stages. You see, in the search for purpose and meaning, there are three things that human beings dabble into, but only one of them really works. The first thing, when people look for meaning, they associate it with money. So they look for getting money. You understand? They look for fulfillment in money. You understand? So they're like, for me to be fulfilled in this life, I need money. So they do all their best to get money, to position themselves in a place where they have free, easy access to money. But one thing happens, and no matter how much this thing is said, people don't get it. Money can never fulfill you. Never. People that have it always say it. People that don't have it never believe it. Never. It just leaves you hungry for more money. And when people realize that money hasn't filled that hole in their life, they go to the next thing. They start looking for meaning. And what that means is they start looking for what they can do with their money. So when, first of all, they start by trying to grab money. When they realize that money, the grabbing of money doesn't fulfill them, what they start to do is give away the money they've grabbed, at least some of it, to see if it can fill the hole. So you see people doing all manner of philanthropic acts. And it's so common in today's world. Go to the internet now. Go to social media. Don't you see celebrities going around this time of the year giving people their dream? I was watching one the other time. My wife sent it to me. A certain lady driving around giving people stuff. And I looked at it. I said, okay, on the surface, it looks good. But when you look deeper, you realize it's self-serving. Because in the end, what happens is the person realizes, I made all this money this year, dancing on the internet and stuff, saying, doing all manner of lewd, ridiculous things. And then I think, oh, there's this guilt. There's always this guilt that comes with money that you want to use to fill your life. There's always a guilt. And when that guilt comes, you're like, okay, to get rid of this guilt, I'm going to give a part of it away to people that you feel have the same need of money that sent you to that thing that you did that made you start getting the money in the first place. So you look to people that seem to be less privileged and you just start doling out money. That's why you see like Wizkid went to, where did he even go self? Last week. Was he not forgot him? Went to spend money. You understand? To spend money. I watched the video. After when I was about to get into his car, he threw the money in the air and people were scrambling all over. In the end, the person still goes home and they steal this hole. I just gave out a truckload of money, but I still feel empty. I still feel like my life is not fulfilling because we always go through that path. Money first, after the money you give out that money you made, you still realize it's not fulfilling. Because the truth is that man was made for mission, not money, not meaning per se. So that's what does my life mean? Start chasing one dream. No, it's mission. It is finding out what God wants you to do. That is what fulfills your life. And that thing might not even make so much meaning to you, but it makes meaning to God. And that there is the real fulfillment in life. That finding what God would have us do. That mission. That is what you've spent the early part of your year on. If there's anything you're going to do from now till 1st of January to the whole of January, is try to retreat a bit and find out what God wants you to do. It's not as abstract as we make it sound. Because when we find out what we want to do, it's not abstract. But find out what God wants you to do, it's not as abstract as you make it sound. It's right out there. It's right there on the surface of your mind. But you blocked it out too much because it doesn't have you at the center. So you're like, no, I can't do that. I ain't meant to do that. What's in that for me? That's me giving out a lot of myself and nothing there. What's in there for me? Nothing. A lot of what God has you to do doesn't have you in the script. Doesn't have you benefiting in the script. And that's the problem why people cannot go on mission. Why mission is a problem. It seems like it's working against you. So when we had missionaries, they used to live comfortable environment to live in very harsh environment where they would die from sickness or be impoverished or be attacked by some cannibalistic tribe, but they would go all the same because it seemed like it was self-defeating. But then a lot of these things that seem self-defeating are some of the things that are self-defining. Those are some of the things that are self-defining, that will define who you are. So I dare to say, if you're going to find purpose, all this ambition that we all write down, you must ask yourself, who is sending me this thing? That's why I may have come to read out my own to you guys. Look, I'm not free from this burden of ambition. Because there's content out there that tells me if I'm not the most influential, I have not started. There's content out there that tells me if I'm not speaking to millions, I've not started. There's content out there that tells me if I'm not talking to Fortune 500 and leaders, world leaders, I've not started. There's content out there that tells me if I'm not the highest paid, I've not started. If I'm not being paid, I've not started. The problem is the contents that we consume. because we are consuming content from influencers that center their lives around the highest bidder. But there's more to life than that. You must find the content. I don't know too many other things apart from the word of God that helps you to center your life on Him. Very few. I know there are books out there. But then they are few and far between. We must be careful. We must be careful of Western books. A lot of these Western books are not helping us. They are self-help books, but the problem is they're not going to help you. Not going to help you. I can guarantee you they're not going to help you. They're not helping you. People are going to tell you to start drawing vision boards and stuff like that. Look, these things, and they sound so good. But then I said, the more you draw that vision board and put that picture of that car, look at people's vision boards now. Just tell people to bring out their vision board, look at it. If you don't see car there, you don't see vision board. You don't see mansion there, you don't see vision board. If you don't see some kind of large crowd scale, you don't see vision board. You understand? Vision board is about accumulation of things. A lot of times, whether you're accumulating people or accumulating money, or you're accumulating some kind of wealth, accumulating fame. That's what it is. The vision board is not what tells you what to do with your year. It's God's vision that tells you what to do with your year. And if you don't cling to God's vision, you go through the year disappointed with yourself or being happy by the wrong metrics, but you will never be satisfied. And I want to close on this. Because you get it doesn't mean God is with you. Because you get what you want doesn't mean God is with you. And I think that is where an establishment like the church has gone wrong in a lot of ways. We have a lot of people in the church propagating covetousness, and they are getting it, and they're saying because they got it, God is with them. So they say, I went out and I saw this BMW, a new model, and I said to myself, that BMW before the end of the year, I will get that BMW in Jesus' name. And every single day I see that BMW, I claim it. I claim that BMW. I claim that BMW. I claim that BMW. And then by September, they get that BMW and they tell the church, and tell, woo, that's incredible. Man, God was backing that guy. He claimed it, said it, and he got it. No, that's not true. Because even if he was not a Christian, he will get that BMW. And I will tell you why. Because the will, there are three types of wills. Three types of wills in the world that very few can contend with. Very few things, very few forces in the world can contend with these three wills. Number one is the will of the mind. The will of the mind, what it means is that whatever your mind wills and believes and puts before it every single day is not about prayer. Just put it before your mind every single day, believe it. Over a period of time, it will happen. That's how strong that will is. There's a saying that says, where there's a will, there's a way. That thing is not a joke, it's true. But it is what will. There's the will of the mind. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter who you are. If you put anything before this thing called the mind, you put it every single day, you put it at the core of your mind and you believe it, you envision it, it will happen in time. That's how strong that will is. There's a second will called the will of the spoken word. There's something called the will of the spoken word. And what it means is that whatever it is you say, you think it, you say it, believe in it. And sometimes you don't even have to believe it too much, but you say, just put it out there. Continuously, consistently, that's the most important thing. It will happen. Say it. Keep talking about sickness will come. Talk about healing will come. Talk about money, it will come. If you believe it, and you don't even have to believe it 100%, but you need to be consistent, unwavering, it will happen. It's called the will of the spoken word. And then there's something called the will of God, which is the strongest will. Nothing can stand against the will of God. If God says it will, it will. That's the third will. Now, the problem is that people are exercising the will of the mind and the will of the spoken word, and they're saying it's the will of God. No, it's not. And that's where people are propagating covetousness. I see a mansion, I say, that is my mansion, I claim it. But because you are putting God's name there, you think that your covetousness is covered and backed by God. And when it happens, you are like, I proved it now. If you were not God, I wouldn't get it. No. You get it because your mind willed it. You get it because your word willed it. It doesn't mean God wills it. Doesn't mean. If you read the Bible, it happened. When people were building the Tower of Babel, did they need God? No. They used the will of their mind and the will of their words, their spoken words. And the Bible said they were building it and they were going to achieve it. Only the will of God could break their will. They were achieving it. So anybody that saw them from the outside achieving that tower will be like, hey, God is with these people. God must be with them because they are doing it. Doing it and getting it doesn't mean you are in God's will. Doesn't mean. And the difference between God's will, the will of the mind, and the will of the spoken word is the fact that God's will is the only perfect will. And what does that mean? The other two wills are imperfect wills. And why they're imperfect wills is because you can see something at the center of your mind, see it for so long, and at the end of the day, when you get it, you will not want it. That's why they're imperfect. Because you can will it, but when you get it, you won't want it. As a matter of fact, you might be disgusted with it after you've gotten it for a while. So you see some people, they will fame. They will it so much in their minds and with their spoken words. When they get that fame, they begin to hate the fame. They begin to say, oh, I hate the fact that I can't go out and then I can't go down my street. You know, they say it a lot now. I can't go down my street. I wish I could go down. I wish I could do this. I wish I could travel. I wish I could go back out, start my shirt again. I wish I could take my children out to the park. Because their will is imperfect. When it comes, it brings them what they don't want. It's imperfect. Why God's perfect will is great is because when He wants it for you and you get it, you will want it. It will make sense. You would love it and it will fit in. So you won't go around and interview, what do you, no. Well, I always wanted to be a singer, but then I don't like leaving the house, but then no. Nobody will tear your clothes when you're going out and it's God's perfect will. Nobody will come robbing you when you're in God's perfect will. When He blesses you, nobody will come and rob your house. When He gives you the child, nobody will come and kidnap your child. It's His perfect will. You understand? So I want us to begin to seek that perfect will as we enter the new year. Let that be in the at the fore of our minds. By all means, seek mission. Ambition, don't be a no future ambition. You understand? Be a no future ambition. And let God's mission be the center of your life. When God's mission is at the center of your life, at the end of the year, you wouldn't be thinking, did I get what I wanted? The question is, have I marked off everything that I feel God told me to do? And that's a successful year at the end of the day. That's a successful year. You know, the other day I was talking with my wife and she was talking about someone that went to Shiloh and person wrote prayer points and everything, and all their prayer points got answered. And because of that, Shiloh works, Shiloh is successful. I said that's not bad. But the problem is when you go to Shiloh with a truckload of prayer points. I don't think the essence of Shiloh is to go to Shiloh with a truckload of prayer points. I think the essence of Shiloh is to go to Shiloh with a blank sheet and to come with a truckload of godly missions. At the end of Shiloh, what you ask yourself is, have I done everything that God has asked me to do? 6 months after going to Shiloh, instead of asking yourself, has God done everything I asked Him to do 6 months after going to Shiloh? Because sometimes it makes me ask myself, who is the master, we or God? Because you see, sure does seem like we are the master. But then we must release our lives to mission. At the end of the day, that's what gives our lives the meaning. And I hope someone finds this encouraging today. And it's not about how you feel. What you should really take time and think about is, what have I done with my year, and how does it align? Have I been conscious of God? Did somebody send me to do all these things that I did, or did I send myself? Is it still my insecurity seeking ambition, or is it my spirit seeking a sense of mission? That's the real thought we should have when we are ending the year and entering into a new year. So as you start this new year, whatever your new year regiment is, please let it be about hearing from God. You understand? He wants to talk to you. He wants to talk to you. A lot of times it's not through Instagram, or it's not through watching skits. Those things will take you away. Those things will tell you that you need to buy a house this year. Those things will tell you that you shouldn't mess up like last year again. You start seeing them now from 1st of January. You start seeing those text messages now telling you, do you want to waste this year like last year again? Better buy a house, or your mates are doing this, or forget all those, like telling your mates, are not helping you. You understand? It's true, his word. And his word is accessible to everybody. And he wants to speak to everybody. And it's there. But it doesn't have you benefiting from it. It's about him. And you realize that when you meet his needs, in quotes, he would elevate you. And that's the same thing we learn about Jesus. He said because he humbled himself, came to die, did the Father's will. He said for that reason, the Father gave him and lifted him to a place above other people. If you want God to lift you, then you must do his will. You must humble yourself and do that which doesn't involve you, while he settles all that involves you. So guys, thank you for making time today. I think about I'm taking more time than I planned to. Sorry if that seems quite long, but then I just thought it was important to talk to you guys about it. If it makes some sense to you, take some time to think about it. But thank you for taking time. Thank you, Ore. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, IK. Dami, thank you. Jay, thank you for joining. Jerry, thank you. Elizabeth, Felix, Kevin, Akanimo, Paul, and Bright. I appreciate you guys, and it's always a privilege, getting to mentor you guys. Thank you very much for choosing to go this journey with me. And I learn from you guys just as much as I believe you learn from me. So go into the end of the year seeking what the master wants you to do. You understand? Don't do it like you've been doing it before. Seek what he wants you to do, and then you'll find meaning in your life. All right, guys. Thanks for taking the time to join. And as usual, if you have any questions or you want to share anything like articles or stuff like that, or you have a diverse opinion, please take time to share it with us on the group, and we can discuss it from there. Have a nice evening, guys.